The evening felt unusually calm, wrapped in the soft glow of the setting sun as it filtered through the apartment blinds. I was sitting at the dining table, half focused on my laptop, half listening to the gentle bubbling of the kettle on the stove. She moved around the kitchen quietly, too quietly. Normally she hummed, or complained about her long day, or teased me about my terrible habit of leaving the fridge door open. But today, there was only silence, the heavy kind that presses against your chest. I looked up and noticed how restless she seemed. She kept adjusting her sleeves, rubbing her palms together, biting her lip. Something was clearly bothering her. Before I could ask, she finally broke the silence. "My parents are visiting this weekend," she said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. "Anne. I told them I had a boyfriend." For a moment, I just stared at her, unsure if I heard correctly. The spoon in my hand slipped and clinked against the cup, echoing loudly in the quiet room. She still didn't look at me, her eyes stayed fixed on the steam rising from the chai she held tightly with both hands. "You told them you had a boyfriend?" I repeated slowly, trying to process it. "And is that supposed to be me?" She nodded without lifting her gaze. I took a breath, half surprised, half curious. A smile tugged at the corner of my lips as I asked, "Will they like me?" That made her look up at last. Her face softened, relief rushing through her expression like a sudden exhale. "I hope so," she murmured. I panicked. I didn't want them to worry. "Anne, you're the only one I trust with something like this." For a moment, we just stood there, two friends suddenly caught in a moment that felt bigger than both of us, a moment neither of us saw coming but neither of us wanted to escape. The next morning began with a nervous energy that neither of us could quite hide. I woke up earlier than usual, replaying her confession over and over again. Boyfriend. The word echoed in my mind in a way that made my chest tighten, part fear, part excitement, part something I wasn't ready to define yet. When I walked into the living room, she was already there, sitting cross-legged on the couch with a notebook open in front of her. She looked up the moment she heard my footsteps. "Good, you're awake," she said, pushing her glasses up her nose. "We need to plan." "Plan?" I blinked. "This feels like I'm being recruited for a secret mission." She didn't even smile. "It is a secret mission. My parents are detailed. They ask a lot of questions. We need to make sure our story makes sense." I sat beside her, and she slid the notebook toward me. Across the top were two words written in bold letters, "Fake Relationship Blueprint." I laughed so hard she hit me with a cushion. "Stop laughing. This is serious." Okay, I said, holding up my hands. "So what do your parents think they know so far?" She hesitated. "I told them we met at the library, and that you made me laugh, and that you bring me coffee sometimes, and that you're kind." My smile faded into something softer. "You told them I'm kind?" She cleared her throat and avoided my eyes. "Well, you are." For a few seconds, neither of us spoke. The quiet between us didn't feel heavy this time, it felt warm, almost intimate. She took a deep breath. "We'll need to rehearse. They'll want details, how we met, why we like each other, the little things." "Right," I nodded. "The little things." But sitting that close to her, watching her worry, watching her trust me with this. I couldn't help but wonder if this fake story was starting to feel a little too real. 2 days before her parents were scheduled to arrive, she announced we needed a trial run. I assumed that meant a short conversation, maybe practicing a few answers, but she had something entirely different in mind. "We're going on a practice date," she said firmly, standing in the hallway with her bag over her shoulder. "A practice date?" I repeated, grabbing my jacket. "You mean, like a fake date?" She crossed her arms. "Yes. How else will we act natural in front of my parents? We can't look like two people who panic every time we make eye contact." I rolled my eyes but followed her out. The cafe she chose was small and cozy, the kind with too many plants and soft music playing in the background. She led the way to a corner table. I watched her fidget with the menu, her cheeks tinted with a nervous pink. "Relax," I teased. "It's just me." "That's the problem," she muttered under her breath. We ordered, and for a while, we talked through the details, how we supposedly met, our first conversation, our favorite things about each other. But somewhere in the middle of explaining how I always brought her coffee, she slipped and said something that wasn't part of the script. "You always notice when I'm stressed," she said quietly. "And you always know how to calm me down." I looked up. Her eyes widened as if she hadn't meant to say that out loud. For a moment, the air between us shifted, softened. "Well," I said gently, "I notice because I care." She blinked, her breath catching just slightly. It wasn't pretend anymore, not entirely. The waiter arrived with our drinks, breaking the moment, and she quickly straightened up. "Focus," she whispered. "We're practicing." But as she avoided my eyes, I couldn't stop thinking. If this is fake, why does it feel so real? The day her parents arrived felt like stepping onto a stage where every gesture mattered. She paced the living room, straightening cushions that were already straight and adjusting the curtains for the 5th time. I watched her, trying not to let my own nerves show. "They're almost here," she said, checking her phone again. "Please don't say anything weird. Or joke too much. Or be too quiet. Or—" I gently touched her shoulder. "Hey. Breathe. I've got you." Her eyes softened for half a second before the doorbell rang. She froze. "Oh no. That's them." When she opened the door, her parents stepped in with warm smiles. Her mother hugged her tightly while her father scanned the room with sharp, curious eyes. Then their attention landed on me. "You must be the boyfriend we've heard about," her father said, shaking my hand firmly. "That's me," I replied with a calmness I absolutely did not feel inside. Her mother's eyes lit up. "He's handsome. You chose well." Her face turned red instantly. We sat in the living room, making polite conversation. I talked about work, hobbies, and how we supposedly met in the library. They listened closely, occasionally glancing at their daughter, who kept nodding too much, like she was scared she'd ruin the story. But as the conversation flowed, something unexpected happened. Everything felt natural. Her father laughed at one of my jokes. Her mother insisted I take more samosas from the plate she brought. She sat beside me, and every now and then, her knee brushed mine. Each time, her father smiled knowingly, as if he approved. At one point, her mother leaned forward. "The way you two look at each other, it feels real." Her daughter choked on air. "And me?" I couldn't deny it anymore, it did feel real. Maybe too real. After dinner, when her parents finally stepped outside to take a phone call, the apartment fell into a strange, heavy quiet. She stood near the dining table, arms folded, avoiding my eyes. Her cheeks were still flushed from all the unintentional compliments her parents had dropped throughout the evening. "You okay?" I asked gently. She let out a long breath. "I don't know. This was supposed to be simple. Just pretend. Just one day." She shook her head. "But the way they kept smiling at us, and the way you—" She stopped herself, biting her lip. "It's confusing." I took a step closer, heart thumping louder than polite conversation would allow. "Confusing for you," I asked softly, "or for both of us?" She finally met my gaze. Her eyes were anxious, but also undeniably warm. "Maybe both." Before I could reply, her parents re-entered the living room. Her mother's expression was gentle, like she already knew something neither of us had admitted yet. Her father clapped his hands together. "We like him," he announced. "He's respectful, thoughtful, and he clearly cares about you." She froze. "Dad." And, her mother added, smiling knowingly, he watches you the way a real boyfriend would. You two don't have to pretend with us. We both stiffened. Her parents exchanged a look, then stepped toward the door. We'll leave you two alone, her mother said softly. Just, be honest with yourselves. When the door closed behind them, the silence returned, but this time it felt different. Warmer. Brave. I turned to her, my voice barely above a whisper. So, what do we do now? Keep pretending? Or, stop pretending? She swallowed hard, then stepped closer, slow, uncertain, but deliberate. I think, she said, her voice trembling just slightly, maybe it's time to stop pretending. And when she reached for my hand, everything finally felt real.